And what is up, you filthy animals? We're back for another video today. So today I would like to talk about troop formations, um, just the way to build troops, all that good nonsense and jazz and all that good stuff. So today we'll just dig right into that. As you guys can see, I had a major jump in power. I think I was like 80 million power when I made my last video. So now we're at 123 million. So that's plus. I have way more troops now. I'm so excited. I'm 2 or 3 days away from UAC, and holy cow, I'm excited. So to tag on to last week's video, I talked about troop building. Now with the troop stuff, they have really bumped up the amount of packs you can buy. So that's for daily deal buyers. Well, bam, you want to spend a little bit more than the normal 35, 36 you usually spend on daily deals. This is great. I mean, you can spend a whole lot more. I'll rephrase that because spending's not obviously the greatest thing ever in the world. But I mean, if you are a spender and you're a minimal spender, this is really good because this allows you to buy more of the packs that are cheaper with the best bang for your buck. So these are some good deals out there. I will always encourage, if you're going to spend money, to do the daily deals. So I have 1,075,000 troops. Yay. So I still don't have that much art, but I will discuss that here in a minute. But I did train, if you guys can see, the T2 pikemen. I trained a lot of those guys because they seem to soak up a lot of the attack. So when you go to attack other people, they seem to soak up a lot. So I trained a lot of those guys. I'm planning on having a lot more. I don't say that 200,000 is a perfect number, but right now, where I'm at with troops, that's what I have. So, and obviously I'm so worried about traps. I don't really train that many traps. I just train traps for the daily rewards. So that's pretty much all I do with traps. But some people have a lot, so we're going to get into that. Troop formations. So my first troop formation, I can't talk today. First troop formation we're going to talk about is one with artillery for attacking somebody with traps. So I got my T10s set up, so I don't send a whole ton of infantry, but I send a decent amount. I send cavalry at 37,000. I send that, and then distance I send a lot more. As I've showed you guys over and over again in my reports, distance just whoops ass and takes names. I'm probably not supposed to curse on YouTube. Who cares? If they really cared about that, they'd look at my name on YouTube. Any Hoosiers. So then I send very minimal amounts of artillery. Artillery doesn't take a whole lot to get the job done. It's just what I've seen so far. I mean, like, honestly, you look at troop stats, like, you can have guys with, like, 2,000% on their infantry, cavalry, and distance and all that good stuff. But, I mean, there's artillery is still at, like, 500. So, but artillery doesn't really take that much to kill traps. Traps are kind of pointless unless they don't send artillery, and then you kill a lot of infantry, because that's what they're really good at, and sometimes cavalry. So I don't send a lot of artillery, but I send enough to get rid of the traps if I need to. So they would go down into T9s. I send less T9s, but I still send it in that order. Infantry, no, distance, artillery with the least, infantry, cavalry, distance. I cannot talk today, and I apologize. I'm sorry. Anyways, but in that order, I always send my stuff. So artillery with the least, infantry, cavalry, and then the most with distance. Always, every time. Until I get down to these lower tiers, then I send less. And I send pretty much equalize it. So then we get down into here. Obviously, we get less and less, but I always like to send all tiers. I've tried it with like just high tiers. I don't like the results as much. So this is always an all tier system. That's what I always stick by, and it's what I'm always going to do. You don't have to send a lot, but you just send a decent amount, or just even a little amount, just to just kind of put variety in your march, which is why we do these formation videos. So then I just kind of generalize it, getting down to here, still send a little bit more distance, and then I get down to these lower ones, and I just send 250, just all the way down, until I get to my T2 infantry. Once I hit my T2 infantry, I jack up a little bit. I think I send around 5,000, 5,315. So this is a very generalized, easy to follow bullet point, just whatever. So 250 all the way up till you get, except for T2 infantry. So 250 until you get up to your top 4 tiers. and then boost it up to 1,000, and then just kind of add some variety. Do 8,000, 6,000, 4,000, 25, 20, 13, and then just kind of max it out with your T10s, T9s, T11s, whatever you have. Just that's your top tier is what you're gonna send the most of, but don't stop there. Just kind of put the variety and flavor in there. So that is my march that I use when I go to attack somebody with a lot of traps. So then we're gonna pop over here, and this is pretty general. I mean, I kind of clean this up a little bit, not all the way down, obviously, but for my top tiers, I cleaned it up. So I cleaned it up to some perfect numbers. So this is kind of what I send when I send somebody without traps. So no artillery, just so I can speed hit or do whatever, and I send this kind of march at somebody. So it's a little different because I've actually increased it so it's not always just the same. I actually send a decent amount of everything. So in the thousands on pretty much everything. And I actually don't know if after I adjusted my infantry, if I actually adjusted my infantry on here. But we'll find out. Yeah, I sent about 5,000. So with my T2 infantry, I'm always going to send around 5,000, around that area. But I send a lot more of everything. But as you guys can see, infantry, cavalry, distance. I send the most of the distance, then cavalry, then infantry. So that's how I roll with all of my formations. And right now I have 2 set up. But I'm not going to do it in the formation section, but I will show you guys some stuff. But this is my general stuff for PvP, just player versus player. And that's kind of how I roll with it. This is basically my formations now. I have some different ones in the videos before. This is kind of what I've dialed it in on. This is kind of my favorite right now. So I dial it in the mines. I dial it in when I attack other people. I dial it in just on whatever I can do. And then I get into other stuff like beasts and all that good stuff. And I have not used all my troops on this one. I think I just did something to increase the amount of troops I can send, which is good because I want to send a few more. Okay, so this is my general march. You guys can look at it. I'll go slow. That way you guys can pause, copy, whatever. However you guys would like to do this. If you guys just want to get a general idea, make your own. If you guys want to do, you can type in numbers. This is easy, guys. You can just literally put in, like, I want to send 500, which I can't send any right now because it's maxed out. But you guys get the idea. Like, if I say I want to send 3,000, bam, easy. So that's just something you guys can do so that way it doesn't take forever to try to dial it into a perfect number. You can type these in just to make your guys' life easier. That's how I have a lot of these at pretty perfect numbers, whatever. Some of them aren't, whatever, who cares? So there you guys go. That's just 2 of my formations I use. I don't have a third one set up right now because I haven't set up my beast one yet. But let's get into that. So beast formations for like Kingdom Under Threat, stuff like that. For the most max amount of damage I can do, let's just see here. I add some artillery. I don't add a lot of artillery, just to be completely honest. I'm not a firm believer yet on artillery, but we'll just use this guy. So, pop up the screen. So I do this, and then when I go attack the beast, so the Kingdom Under Threat guy, I do something like this. I send a lot of distance, cut down my infantry a little bit, and send some artillery, and this is basically all I do for Kingdom Under Threat, and I get pretty decent results, I think, comparatively. I usually rank in the top 20, top 30, but I'm still just, to put it in perspective, I'm still just a C30 in a kingdom of C40s and C35s. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about those numbers. You guys can do what you want, but this is kind of what I do. I send a lot of distance. I hammer on distance for a Kingdom Under Threat. I found that it's probably the most reliable thing I can do for the best numbers. And I might have to do some scrolling, so I apologize for that. But as far as that goes, I feel like I get some pretty decent numbers out of it. So here's one of them. So that's just one of the numbers that I got off of that. Pretty generalized formation. I mean, all of these are pretty close to the same. I fiddle around with it each time. but these are definitely what I do when I send stuff there. So 574,000 points for my troops. And yes, when I do send a full march, I send buffed up. So I just use a 2-hour speed up, which is, oh, excuse me, which is super easy to engage. All you gotta do is click on this whole estate buffs, scroll down a little bit, put whatever buffs on you want to, and put on your march capacity, and we're Bamskis. Go smash some beasts. So that's pretty much what I do for Kingdom Under Threat. And Beast March are usually the best thing to use across the board. So if you're using that for Kingdom Under Threat, I'd recommend something along those lines for your Redguard raids for the best damage you can get in a Redguard raid. I'd recommend it for your Fortress and also for Underworld. Underworld, you can send art, but where you're on a time constriction, sometimes it's not best to send artillery. So if you're like Joe Schmo right here, like Melbrick or Batman or Bolo or Puma, one of these guys, you're right next to the gates. If you want to send artillery, you can. It slows down the march to the gates, but you can do it. Whatever, talk to your alliance, ask them. Some alliances are super picky, some just don't really care. But you can get the most damage. But if you're this guy way over here in the boonies, you can probably miss some marches. Because I know we do time marches for this. So we have one guy set a march, and then 2 minutes and 50 seconds later, 2 minutes, 30 seconds later, another guy sets a march. So that way, all the other people can hop into both marches, and you can get the most damage and conquer the beast as fast as you can. So that's what we do. So, I mean, if you guys want to take that into consideration on how you guys do gates, feel free. I'm not copyrighting any ideas. That's why I have a YouTube channel to help you guys out. So that's why I say I don't send artillery, because I like to be able to jump into one guy's rally, get my troops back fast, jump at the next guy's rally. So that's some things that you guys can keep in mind for when you're doing gates. Artillery will always slow down your march, so that's stuff I do. And then, of course, like I tell you guys all the time, you guys can do for, I don't know why you do it for Kingdom Under Threat or gates or anything like that, but you can do like temporary artifacts, your airship, march boosters, anything like that. You guys can switch those out once your march starts and add more buffs. So, I mean, with your airship, you can switch out your march capacity, and you can throw in another buff in there just so that way you have more buffs for when you actually hit. Same thing with the Temp Wonders. You can use the Temp Wonder to get more march capacity and then switch it out for your cannon or whatever so you get more damage. Those are all things you guys can do to get the best results in your marches and your attacks and everything you do. I mean, obviously, if you want to spend 2,000 gold on doing Kingdom Under Threat, you can, or 4,000 for Wonders, but I wouldn't recommend it. But I mean, if you guys want to switch out your airship abilities, so your march cap, switch it out, put in another buff, more damage to the Kingdom Under Threat beast, that's perfectly okay with me. I would recommend it. Because, I mean, you have a minute long, 2 minutes, 5 minute long march to get there anyways. Unless you port right next to it, then you have like 3 seconds. So, those are all things you guys can do to ensure that you guys get the most out of everything you do. So, I'd recommend it for sure. And then, those were 19 minutes ago. Crap. So, those are all things that I would recommend you guys doing. So, if there's any questions, let me know in the comments. Throw a subscribe on there if this helped you out at all. Throw a like on there. Let me know if you guys have any video ideas.